a tragic Air India jet crash, Israel's potential strike on Iran's nuclear sites, and newly declassified files on Robert F. Kennedy's assassination. And today's trivia question, which U.S. state was the first to have a zip code? I know the answer. Do you? It's Friday, June 13th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Good morning. Happy Friday, the 13th, and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm your weekday host, Ayla Brown. Did you know that Friday the 13th is considered unlucky due to the combination of Friday and the number 13? You see, Friday is seen as an ill-fated day in many cultures, and same with the number 13. It's long associated with bad luck, with roots tracing back to biblical events and Norse mythology. We'll talk about whether you think Friday the 13th is an unlucky day later in the show. In the meantime, let's take off with the biggest headlines of the day. First, an Air India Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner Flight AI-171 crashed into a residential area in Ahmedabad, India, shortly after takeoff Thursday at 1:38 p.m. local time. 241 of the 242 people aboard were pronounced dead. The sole survivor, British national Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, seated in 11A near an emergency exit, was thrown from the wreckage. He is currently hospitalized. The plane struck a BJ Medical College hostel dining hall, killing at least 5 students and injuring 50, with 269 total bodies recovered. It's India's deadliest aviation disaster since 1996 and the first fatal Boeing 787 crash. Investigators are probing a possible double-engine failure, flap misconfiguration, or bird strike, with one black box recovered. This next story broke after we filmed today's headline, so I'm bringing it to you in this audio-only format to make sure you still get the latest information. Here's what we know so far. In breaking news early Friday local time, Israel executed Operation Rising Lion, striking Iran's nuclear facilities, including the Natanz uranium enrichment site, and military targets around Tehran. In a video statement, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the operation aimed to dismantle Iran's nuclear program, citing intelligence that Iran had enriched enough uranium for multiple nuclear weapons. He called it a, quote, clear and present danger to Israel. Israeli Defense Forces also targeted ballistic missile sites and nuclear scientists. Israel declared a state of emergency, expecting missile and drone retaliation, and closed its airspace. The U.S. denied involvement with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, stating Israel acted unilaterally, emphasizing U.S. focus on protecting its 40,000 regional troops. Rubio warned Iran against targeting U.S. interests, while President Trump, who had urged Netanyahu against the strike to preserve nuclear talks, called it a risk to diplomacy, but noted it, quote, might help pressure Iran. The U.S. evacuated non-essential staff from Iraq and other Middle East posts, forming a task force to manage the crisis. Please visit jointheflyover.com for any and all updates throughout the day. Lastly, the CIA declassified 1,450 pages on Robert F. Kennedy's 1968 assassination on Thursday, including 54 previously secret documents. The files feature Saran's handwritten note, Kennedy must fall, suggesting a lone, impulsive act driven by RFK's Israel support. They also reveal RFK shared Soviet Union intel with the CIA in 1955 and detail failed CIA plots to poison Fidel Castro. RFK Jr. disputes the lone gunman narrative, citing autopsy discrepancies. Here's what's happening in politics today. House Republicans passed a $9.4 billion rescissions bill Thursday by a 214 to 212 vote, cutting $8.3 billion in foreign aid and $1.1 billion from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which funds PBS and NPR. The bill, pushed by President Trump to lock in cuts suggested by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, targets programs like USAID's global health efforts and PEPFAR. The bill now heads to the Senate, where it needs a simple majority. Next, David Hogg, the 25-year-old activist and DNC vice chair, resigned Wednesday ahead of Thursday's party elections. The reason? Internal conflicts over his role in his PAC's $20 million plan to back younger Democratic primary challengers against older incumbents in safe blue districts. The DNC voted to redo the vice chair elections due to a procedural challenge by Kalen Free, who argued the February 2025 vote violated gender parity rules. Hogg, who co-founded the Leaders We Deserve, clashed with DNC Chair Ken Martin, who demanded neutrality, leading Hogg to focus on his PAC's push for generational change. Democratic Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed and handcuffed Thursday after interrupting Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's Los Angeles press conference on immigration raids. Padilla, seeking answers on ICE operations that sparked the protests, was pushed to the ground by Secret Service and FBI agents, who later released him after he identified himself. Noem met Padilla afterwards for a 15-minute discussion. Democrats, including Governor Gavin Newsom and Senator Chuck Schumer, called it a, quote, abuse of power, while DHS claimed Padilla, quote, lunged without identifying himself. We're brought to you today by Native Path Collagen. Native Path is made with only type 1 and 3 collagen fibers, which make up 90% of the collagen in our bodies. It's a single ingredient formula with no fillers, no additives, no artificial sweeteners. Just pure collagen that's been third-party tested for heavy metals, so you know it's safe and I know it's safe. And by the way, it is flavorless, so you can put it in your coffee, your smoothies, soups, wherever. Over 4 million jars have sold, 8,000 five-star reviews, and they even offer a 365-day no-risk guarantee. If you want to try it for yourself, head to getnativepathcollagen.com/flyover. That's getnativepathcollagen.com/flyover. Or if it's easier, just click on the link in the description below. Here are those extra stories just for listeners of the Flyover Podcast that you won't find in the email edition. First, at least 11 NYPD vehicles were set on fire in a suspected arson attack early Thursday near the 83rd Precinct in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Police found undetonated incendiary devices on several cars, and surveillance video showed 2 masked suspects fleeing the scene. A flyer posted nearby blamed the precinct for disrupting Puerto Rican Day festivities, hinting at political motives tied to anti-police and anti-ICE protests. No injuries were reported, and Mayor Eric Adams vowed accountability, calling the attack, quote, unacceptable. Next, President Trump has launched a Trump Card program offering foreign nationals a path to U.S. citizenship for $5 million. The official site, trumpcard.gov, is now accepting applicants, though the fee doesn't guarantee citizenship, just access to a new, vaguely defined path. President Trump claims no congressional approval is needed since the card doesn't confer immediate legal status. The program is pitched as an elite alternative to the existing EB-5 investor visa. And lastly, a new fitness trend called Japanese walking is gaining steam for promising the benefits of 10,000 steps in just 30 minutes. The method, backed by research out of Japan, uses interval walking, so 3 minutes slow, 3 minutes brisk, 3 minutes slow, 3 minutes fast, repeated for about half an hour, 4 times a week. Studies show it outperforms regular walking in improving blood pressure, blood sugar, and leg strength, making it especially valuable for middle-aged and older adults. Experts say it's a time-efficient, heart-smart routine that nearly anyone can start and stick with. To me, that actually sounds really interesting and a bit exhausting, but I am all about elongating my health. So when I go to the gym today, I will keep that in mind. Still to come, whales might be trying to talk to us. The Grammy Awards announced a new country music category and all of your finance and sports news coming right up. Cyber attacks disrupted major U.S. retailers this week, including Whole Foods, Victoria's Secret, Adidas, and The North Face, causing product shortages, delayed orders, and data breaches. United Natural Foods Incorporated, a key supplier to Whole Foods and 30,000 retailers, took systems offline after a June 8th breach, leading to empty shelves and a 7% stock drop. Victoria's Secret and Adidas faced ransomware attacks, with hackers leaking customer data, while The North Face reported order delays. Recovery efforts are ongoing. How about this? Costco introduced a $130 executive membership perk Wednesday, granting 9 a.m. early warehouse access to beat those crowds. The upgrade, targeting high spenders who earn 2% cash back on purchases, aims to boost loyalty. Regular $65 members enter at 10 a.m., and the early access, tested in select California stores, rolls out nationwide by July. And lastly, Tesla's robotaxi service launched on Thursday in Austin with 10 Model Ys sporting robotaxi graffiti logos and running driverless using full self-driving software. The vehicles are geofenced to safe zones and remotely monitored, with plans to scale to about 1,000 units. Tesla's stock rose 1.1%. My question for you, would you ever ride in a self-driving car? My husband's cousin did once, and she said it was pretty freaky. Here's how the stock market did yesterday. Wall Street saw modest gains across the board. The Nasdaq up 0.24%, the S&P 500 rose 0.38%, and the Dow added 0.24%. Gold surged 2.59%, to $3,407 an ounce, while Bitcoin slid nearly 2% to $106,709. One of the biggest stock moves of the day, though, GameStop plunged over 22% after announcing a $1.75 billion convertible debt offering to fund a pivot into Bitcoin and trading cards like Pokemon. In sports, the Baseball College World Series kicks off today in Omaha, Nebraska, with Arizona facing Coastal Carolina at 11 a.m. Eastern. Then at 4 p.m., Louisville will take on Oregon State. Both games will air on ESPN. Get the popcorn ready because both of these games are going to be great matchups. Speaking of baseball, Pope Leo XIV, the first American pope and a Chicago native, was spotted Wednesday wearing a White Sox hat during his weekly Vatican audience. The 69-year-old, who attended Game 1 of the 2005 World Series, confirmed his South Side allegiance by signing a baseball for a fan after asking, "White Sox or Cubs?" The White Sox, who invited him to throw a first pitch at Guaranteed Rate Field, are 23-44 this season. But listen to this. They are 13-16 since his election. Maybe those prayers are working? And lastly, the PGA Tour is heating up with a major tournament this weekend where top golfers are battling for the title, and the leaderboard promises some thrilling shifts as the weekend unfolds. You can catch all of the PGA action, plus catch up on the box scores for all of your favorite sports by heading to today's email edition of the Flyover. I hope you don't have a weak stomach because a Belgian study suggests antibodies from llama blood called nanobodies could combat COVID-19 by binding to the virus's spike protein, blocking cell entry. Researchers at VIB UGent, building on 2020 work with a llama named Winter, found these nanobodies neutralize variants like Omicron in lab tests. Smaller than human antibodies, they're stable and could be inhaled with human trials planned soon. Next, Australian scientists at Monash University have found that stem cells in menstrual blood could transform treatments for endometriosis, affecting 190 million women and infertility. These cells, which repair the uterine lining, show unique patterns in endometriosis patients, aiding non-invasive diagnostics. Lab-grown organoids mimic endometrial tissue, and mouse studies suggest they may heal wounds or regenerate insulin cells for diabetes. And lastly, humpback whales may blow bubble rings to playfully engage with humans. That's according to Marine Mammal Science study. Researchers, including UC Davis and SETI Institute scientists, analyzed 39 rings from 11 different whales, noting most occurred near boats or swimmers with no aggression. These kind of smoke ring-looking bubbles, distinct from hunting nets, suggest complex communication. And I don't know why, but I really like that story. I hope you did too. Now for the Rotator, here's your Friday entertainment news. First, the Grammy Awards announced changes to its country music categories. They will now split Best Country Album into traditional and contemporary to reflect evolving industry trends, and adding a new Best Album Cover award. The split recognizes traditional artists like Chris Stapleton alongside more contemporary acts like Morgan Wallen. How about this? Disney and Universal sued AI platform Midjourney on Tuesday in California federal court, alleging it created and shared unauthorized characters from films like The Lion King and Jurassic Park, violating copyright law with over 10,000 infringing images. The studios claim Midjourney ignored cease and desist letters and used their IP to train AI, marking the first major case targeting AI-generated character likenesses. And lastly, if you're a Swiftie, Taylor Swift filed for a restraining order in Los Angeles Superior Court on Tuesday against Eric Walter Swarbrick, a 36-year-old Colorado man she accuses of stalking her since January of 2024. Taylor claims Swarbrick sent threatening emails, changed his driver's license address to her Los Angeles home, and appeared at her properties, causing severe emotional distress. Court documents cite 15 incidents, including a March 2025 email threatening her family, so a judge granted a temporary order with a hearing set for July 1st. Coming up, a South Carolina man stole an excavator and led cops on a slow speed chase down the highway. Because who needs a getaway car when you've got construction equipment? Am I right? That story's coming up next. Well, North Charleston, South Carolina. The police spent over an hour on Sunday chasing a 53-year-old burglary suspect driving a stolen Komatsu excavator at 3 miles an hour down the U.S. Highway 78. After damaging a Mexican supermarket, the suspect led officers on a 72-minute pursuit, ending when the excavator got stuck at the Charleston County Fairgrounds. He then fled on foot but was tracked by a drone and caught by a police dog, facing charges of failure to stop and malicious injury to property with a $22,000 bond. And a new pair of moss-covered, boulder-shaped shoes, retailing for about $110, is going viral for its cartoonish stone texture and plush yellow interior. The slip-ons mimic a forest rock with synthetic moss. People on social media can't really figure out if this is a joke or not. And you can see for yourself in today's email edition of The Flyover. If you're not a subscriber, it takes 2 seconds. Join for free at jointheflyover.com. Here's yesterday's poll question and the results. As we talked about yesterday, Brian Wilson, one of the iconic members of the Beach Boys, passed away. So the question was, what is your favorite Beach Boys song? 25% of you said Good Vibrations. 22% said California Girls. 16% said God Only Knows. 13% said I Get Around. 12% said Fun, Fun, Fun. And another 12% said Other. Oh, makes me reminisce on all the great Beach Boys songs there have been in the past. But here's the poll question for today. Do you believe Friday the 13th is an unlucky day? Yes or no? Those are the two different ways you can vote. I personally don't think Friday the 13th is an unlucky day. I think that good and bad things happen to us every single day, but we can't blame spooky dates for those things. Can we? You've made it to the trivia question. So which U.S. state was the first to have a zip code? I knew the answer to this because here in Massachusetts, we claim this to be pretty big news, but now you know. Massachusetts was the first state to receive a 5-digit zip code, with Agawam assigned 01001 in 1963. If you don't know where Agawam is, it's all the way to Western Mass, right by Springfield, where basketball was invented. That's a wrap for today's Flyover Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, sharing, and making this show a small part of your day. I'll be here with you all weekend filling in for Amy Hess again. So keep tuning in for all the latest headlines and, of course, your podcast extra section. Until tomorrow, thanks for flying with us.